Amen. Thank you. We are been dreaming of a city, and we know that we will be there when Jesus comes. The story is about this lady, and I know some of you know about her. And her name is Miss Medgard Evers. She talked about how influential was her husband to her. And it was in 1960, 1860, sorry. Let me think about how I'm going to bring this story to you. It's in 1960 that there was this man who was sitting in an audience of more than 2,000 people. I have to bring back my mind. And he mentioned how she went up and talked about how they murdered her husband. She spoke about hope for the America that is and that could be. She publicly denounced the hate that is being vital in this nation. She pleaded for this country to spare itself of the agony that it will be that it will be continuously for us as Black people. That night, she mentioned, her husband was outside talking to the neighbors, and suddenly somebody came by, as we know, and shot him to death. She ran out because she was inside of her home. She ran out and she held his head. And that day, she said, it has to stop. They murdered him. Well, why did they murder him? Because he talked about human freedom. Was her tears that they picture holding at the funeral her children, three children he left behind, and his wife. One tear that came out in Life magazine, in Time magazine, back in the days called Life magazine. And she said, how can I explain my children that from this day on they have to run to save themselves? How can I explain my children that it will be a burden for them to be Black? How can I explain my children that when my sister come to home, she have to be looking back to save herself? This is a reminder that I stand, and she said, I stand for those who are fallen. I stand for those not to run again. I stand for those to be looking for justice and to reject those who are pers- persecuted us. She plead for freedom. She plead for actions. And she plead for those who are coming. She said, Black is beautiful. The other story I have for you is about George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver was stolen from his home, and his story came as his parents were slaves, and how did they get him? How did they stole him? He was traded for a horse for his life. He became to be one of the greatest scientists. This man, who has saved the economy of the South, gave the glory to the great Creator. He thought about how Christ had bring him to this world to tell others what he had done. He became the greatest black scientist. What did he do? He persuaded them to grow peanuts, and then he discovered more than 300 uses for them. Did you heard about him? No. But he wants to tell us that we, black, is beautiful. Let us look on these stories and more to come, that we are beautiful because God created us. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to give the opportunity to Elder Samuels to come and give the lesson study.
Morning, Sabbath School. Today we're talking about mercy. Whose mercy are we talking about? Do we deserve mercy? Some people say yes, some people say no. How did God feel about giving mercy? All right. Father, be with us. Open our hearts, open our minds. Let your words find fertile soil in our hearts so that we might spring forth and show your glory to the world.